All right, let's get going. Hey, yeah, I appreciate everybody taking the time to join. As everybody knows, I think yesterday or the evening before, we released the latest Remedy demonstration environment to the BDC that includes MyIT and Service Broker 3.3. There were been some enhancements well, there have been some changes to the way we were presenting the look and feel and what we've done in Service Broker. So originally I was just going to create a video. I talked to Tom. He said, hey, why don't we just do a live session and you can kind of give an overview to everybody and we'll record it. So that's what we're going to do. So the goal of this session is to give you guys an overview and a look at MyIT and Service Broker as it exists in the BDC today, and kind of give you a background on why we did what we did, and kind of show you some things that exist in that environment, maybe some things that need to be done in order for you to be successful in doing some of the demos. But first I want to start with this slide right here, because it's kind of it's going to set the background to what we did, at least when you look at the way the Universal Console of MyIT looks. There are three different offerings with Service Broker. I'm sure everybody's kind of familiar with this with MyIT and Service Broker. We've got the self-service, we've got digital workplace, then we've got the MyIT Service Broker offerings. Depending on the offering that you get is going to dictate what type of functionality or capability you get with the product. Right, so we have self-service, which is MyIT, which whether you're on demand or on premise, you get what we call the catalog starter kit. That is new in 3.3, and basically what that does is provide you with 3 catalog categories in MyIT. It pre-populates MyIT with some service requests, right? So a customer doesn't go in and get a blank screen and then have to populate everything. So those are pre-populated with the self-service and on-demand and on-premise. We have the digital workplace, which is either on-premise or on-demand, which gives you the same things that you get with the traditional self-service, along with some extras, as you can see here on the screen. Now, this is an early publication of this slide. It's coming out in another presentation that has a little more detail. It may slightly change from this, but basically this is what we're looking at here. You guys will get a copy of or we'll have access to that presentation when it's out. So the digital workplace, whether it's on-prem or on-demand, is going to dictate what type of capabilities are available to the end user. But basically, what you're going to get is what we call the enriched catalog, which has the banners which were introduced with 3.3 and the rich profiles in MyIT. Or if you're on-prem, you get the full-blown MyIT, and then you have Service Broker itself, which gives you access to everything. Right, you get the banner management, you get the shopping cart, you get access to the connectors and all of that good stuff. So with that in mind, when we flip over and I start showing you the demonstration environment, I'm going to show you how we try to represent those different offerings within that interface in the demonstration environment. So let's move on over. Any questions on that so far? Nothing? Okay. So just like the existing 3.2 environment that you guys have been dealing with, the integration from between MyIT and Service Broker is disabled initially. So when you provision that environment, that integration is going to be turned off. You're going to have to go over to the admin console and fire that up. We did that because this initial screen represents the self-service, the MyIT with the starter kit, right? This is what the customer would get if they purchased MyIT, they installed it, and they fired up their environment, right? So these are predefined catalog items that are available out of the box. So there's 3 categories: the common services, facility services, and there's going to be HR services as well. That is not available today with the starter kit, but it is coming. I was asked to add it in here because we do have use cases that focus on HR. Now, these are basically just SRDs that have been imported into MyIT that can be requested. Now, if you have the on-demand version, the starter kit is there out of the box. If you purchase on-premise, the starter kit does not come with it, but you will be able to go to the marketplace, download the starter kit, or the customer can go to the marketplace, download the starter kit, and install it into the product and get this same view. Okay, so that's the look at that. So if we go over and we enable the configuration so that we get the service broker enhanced items. Go back over to MyIT. Let me refresh here. You're going to see what the screen is going to look like, and I'm assuming. Uh-oh. Well, let me log out and log back in and see if that'll work.
Clear the cache.
You can't use that against us. That's what we tell you guys. There we go. All right, so here we go. With the service broker integration turned on, we get all the things that you'd be accustomed to seeing with the enriched content that's provided there. All right, so that interim level between or the digital workplace offering between self-service and service broker gives you access to the banners, which we see across the top here. These are called the hero banners. And then we have some more banners down here at the bottom, these featured banners. We get that. But then if you also look, well, let me scroll down here, digital workplace on demand. You'll see at the end of some of the catalog names that we've appended on demand here. We've got service broker enhanced here. This is going to kind of to give you guys an idea of which of these would be available based on the package that the customer has ordered, the licensee that they've chosen. Now, these aren't baked in stone. Everybody here knows that you can go in here and modify these, and we encourage you to do so. You know, do whatever you need to do to make sure that your demonstration environment fits the needs for you and your customer and what you're trying to do. All right, but out of the box, we're trying to provide this information to show you where the differences are based on the type of offering that was purchased by the customer. Okay? Any questions?
The SRDs are included.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Mike. Say that again.
The SRDs are also included. No, it's not just.
That's correct.
It's the actual items. Okay.
Yeah, that's yeah. Once you get to here, it's just like it's always been, right? You can go into the admin console in MyIT and you can create your category buckets and you can move things around and add them and whatever you want to do.
Roger, a question here.
Yes.
Do we actually have to use the LN account, or because we know that it has special privileges, or it can work with Joe or the other new user?
Yeah. So I was just about to go there.
Okay.
So we all of the typical users are still there that have always been there. I'm logged in as Alan right now. So because Alan is an administrator, I can see everything, right? There are some entitlements that have been defined in Service Broker that will limit what you can see if you log in as a different user. And I'm going to log in as a different user here in a moment, but I just wanted to run you through the initial screen and show you what's here. So we have this desktop applications category. Every one of these items that are in here are Flexera items. They are all attached to a workflow, and they are all requestable. And there is workflow associated with them. I'm going to show you how we do that in a moment and walk you through not only doing the request, but how you can log into Flexera's app portal to validate that that request has gone through. I've updated the release notes that June and Damien manage. Those release notes have been updated. A lot of this information is in there, and I've already made a couple of posts out to the Service Broker Chatter group as well. That has, if you guys have gone out and looked, some of the documents I'm going to show you today are already out there. Those that aren't will be out there. But it all revolves around being successful with a Flexera request, with an AWS request, and things of that nature, and what you'd need to do. Okay, so desktop applications is all Flexera. Cloud services are AWS, which is the WordPress and the Microsoft Windows Server request. Those are AWS requests, and we have an Azure request. which is the CentOS, and then we have a request that leverages our Office 365 connector. And then we go down user resources. These are things that were just created in Service Broker. We talked about digital workplace. We have the banner, and that's what these are. And then there are some bundles down here, which everybody should be familiar with. Okay? One of the first things that you're going to want to do after you've fired this up and you've integrated Service Broker, you are going to have to go into Service Broker itself, go into connectors. I usually filter on status. I do that because it puts them in order, and the Microsoft Office 365 connector shows up down here. When you provision an environment, this connector will show up in a failed state. There's nothing we can do about it. It has to do with the way that Microsoft and the app portal validates the authentication code that we use when we configure the connector. It's a very easy fix, but it's something that you need to do. If you do not do this, you will not be able to successfully request the Office 365 catalog items, nor the AWS or Azure items. The reason you won't be able to do AWS and Azure is because the workflow uses the email generation capability within the 365 connector to send notification emails back to you guys. And I'm going to run through all of these requests so you see how they go. It's not difficult. It's not difficult to enable this. Just double-click on the connector. You'll see this authentication code here. Just clear this box. It's an extremely long code. This content is out in the chatter group as well. Do that. Go find this document that I've provided. There are 3 sections to the document. This first section you really don't need to worry about. It's for the initial configuration of the 365 connector on a fresh install of the product, right? So if you had no information, then you'd need this. And this information comes from the Office 365 portal and is associated to whoever owns that account. That's where that information comes from. What you are going to be interested in is this middle section right here. All right. To get a new authentication code, just simply click on the authorization link. It's going to take you to this page. Here is the username and the password. It's in the document you guys have access to. Just simply sign in. You're going to be taken to a page like this. All right. The content in the middle of this page, that's your authentication code. However, do not copy and paste from within the page. It won't work. Go up to the browser bar, and let me go back. I showed you. Start on the right side of the equal sign with the first capital letter. From there, you're going to want to highlight all the way to the end. Well, you really don't want to go to the end, but to get there quickly, go all the way to the point where it starts "and session." Right? Then this is all documented. Copy that. Go back. Fill in the value of the authentication code, save it, and you'll go back to a connected state, and you'll be good to go. Okay. Once you've done that, you can go back to MyIT and make these requests. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to walk through these cloud services requests, so you guys can take a look at it, and then we'll flip over and we'll do the Flexera stuff. The reason I'm going to do that is because it takes a few minutes on some of these to get some email responses back. The Office 365, anybody who has had access to the DEM Live environment may have seen this already. If not, here it is. I've got a video out there. The document that is on Chatter will actually take you to a video that walks you through doing this. You're asked for an email address. This can be your BMC email address or anyone that it needs to be a valid address. This is where a notification email is going to go, so something that you have access to. You are asked for a password. This is going to be the case with all of the cloud services that ask for a password. Read the description, all right? Because if you veer from this, it's not going to work. The passwords they have specific number of characters and everything that needs to be done. So I'm going to put in a password and then usage location. To give you guys a hint on this, not all of these locations work, although we've mapped them to a location file that was provided with the connector. I have not been successful using many of these locations. I will tell you for a fact I know that Belgium works, and I know that the United States works, and basically I've stuck to that, choosing either one of those. You feel free to test others out. I haven't gone through the process of doing all of those individually. Complete the request. I'm done, and again, everybody's familiar with, you can go to all activity and see these as these transpire. So that has closed. And let me walk you through an AWS request. This is pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. Choose a region, choose an instance type, and give an email address. Again, this is a valid email address, right? Something that you can receive an email on. Do that, select done, and then Azure is a little bit more intensive, a little bit few more things that you have to do. Enter a username that's associated to this instance. I'm logging in as Alan, and we'll do, what's today, Thursday? Not that it's important, but it helps me recognize it when I get the notification email, or if you actually go out to the environment itself. I use the same password format. VM name, this can be anything. Oh, you know what? I did those wrong. Alan A is the user, and this is the VM name. Just make one up. And then again, email address. All right, there are two sets of questions with the Azure. Select next. There are, for those of you who are familiar with the service broker workflow and the questions that are associated with it, there are a couple of questions. If you go into Service Broker and look at these, there are some questions that are in there that are hidden. They're hidden because I've pre-populated them with the information that is necessary in order to make these requests successful. One is a resource group, and I forget what the other one was. Anyway, select, so the resource group, in this one you are going to want to select true. If you select false, it's not going to go through. We've already created the resource group, and the workflow knows what resource group that the instance is going to be provisioned in, and then choose a size and select complete request. Done. If I go back up, you'll be able to see that these are out there. Right, so WordPress is done, Office 365 is done. Let me go over here to my email, and you can see here are the notification emails that you will receive once these are done. All right, so a couple of things here. Let me just go ahead. These instances, they're live. Okay, these instances are actually getting created. They're getting spun up, and they are in some resource groups that we've created. So every time you guys spin one of these up, we are going to get charged. So I would ask you if you can remember, when you are done with your demonstration environment, is to take these terminate these sessions. Okay. There's a fairly easy way to do that in MyIT, and we can do that by going to the My Stuff tab, and we have day 2 activities that are in the product. The customer will see these as well, but this isn't really ready for prime time, the day 2 stuff. So don't go highlighting this to the customer as a capability that's there. In the next release, February, in the February release, there's going to be enhancements made to this to make it look a little bit better. Right now, you can see it's kind of playing with these services that are up here right now. But this is where you can go ahead and terminate those sessions, and it takes them off the books for us, and will no longer get charged. Right? You've got these ellipses up here. Just select those. And then you get the option to terminate or delete or something along those lines. There'll be a stop, log off, that stuff. Terminate it or delete the session. If you just stop it or if you just power it down, the instance still exists, and because it's sitting there taking up storage, we continue to get charged for it. There are a couple of us who will monitor those instances that are out there, but if it would help us greatly if you guys would go out there and take care of this yourself. Before I get rid of, so that one's there. We've got, did we receive? We haven't received it yet. This is actually the Azure instance. It just hasn't sent me the email yet. And this is the Office 365. So you can see here where it says delete user. So there's a couple of things you can do with Office 365. One is you can actually go here and delete the user, or if you wanted to, you could go to the catalog, and I've created a request that should allow you to delete that. There it is, delete Office 365 user. If you do it this way, it accomplishes the same goal. But if you do it this way, it's going to ask you for an email address. This is not the email address you put in that sent you to the notification email. If you go back in and look at the email, look at the notification email that was sent to you, you're going to see that there's an email address that is in there. That is the account that was actually that you created on the Office 365 portal. That's the email address that it is asking for. You can see there's the Azure credentials and all of the information that you would need to access those. But this is the email address that you need if you're going to go through the process of using the request to delete the user. You can pop that in there and just hit complete request, and that just goes out. It's using workflow from Service Broker to go in and remove that user. And I just kind of defeated the purpose of what I was going to show you next with the Office 365 portal. If you wanted to show your customer that the user was actually created in the portal, in the documentation that's in Chatter, you have the ability to do that. Just click on, it's the third section down here, just click on Office 365 portal. It's the same username and password that's there, and it will take you to the portal. You can select admin, and again, this is all in a video as well that has been produced that you guys can go out and look at. Select admin, just highlight the users, and then it'll pop up. I went and deleted Alan, so he's not here, but he would have been here had I not done that. Sometimes I leave this open if I'm demonstrating for a customer, so I can come in here after the user is created, I can refresh the page and you'll see the user pop up, and then you go in and you delete the user, you can refresh the page and show the customer that, look, the user's gone. So we were actually talking to one of Microsoft's portals out there. All right, that's all in that documentation. Another note, whether you are logging into this portal or you're doing the authorization link, make sure you've logged out of any Office apps, cloud apps that you might have, any Office 365 apps that you might have happen to have been logged into. If you don't, it will try to use that account to get to where it needs to go, and it's not going to work for you. So make sure you're logged out of everything. But that's all documented. So that's where we are with cloud services and MyIT. Any questions on that stuff?
So Luis asked a question, is it possible to configure custom actions with anything similar to CLM?
Well, there's another environment that has the integration for MyIT and CLM in it that you can demonstrate that integration that will allow you to request items that you'd normally do through CLM. We're working on a CLM connector to provide in MyIT through Service Broker. It's not in this environment, so there's nothing we can do with CLM in this particular environment. the CLM environment has that content, if that answers your question. Anything else, Tom?
That's all I see.
Okay. All right, so let's walk through those. So at this point, I'm going to log out as Alan. And I'm going to log back in as John Doe. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to successfully request a Flexera app. You have to be logged into MyIT as John Doe if you want to demonstrate the Flexera connector and successfully request one of these catalog items. The reason for that is we are actually integrated or connected to a Flexera development portal that they have given us access to, and John Doe is the user that they provided to us. So the user in MyIT needs to match a user that exists in the Flexera app portal. So that's why that's there. There is a Jane Doe that can also make the request, but she doesn't have the privileges at the app portal to show that that request has gone through, if that makes any sense. I'll show you that in a moment. Right, but all of these are the same. They're all using the same workflow, right? So you make the request, do request now. The only thing that it's asked for, Flexera actually does provision these requests to manage some managed systems they have on the back side of their portal. We don't have access to those managed systems, which is why the only way we can validate is by going to the app portal, logging in as John Doe, and looking at the requests that have been submitted. Right. So here it doesn't matter what you put. Well, let me go back. Don't put any spaces and no special characters when you're creating a name for the machine that this is supposedly going to be provisioned out to. That being said, let me go ahead and submit this request so it gets going. So the request is on its way. Let's make sure that we are good there. It's in progress. If you go into Service Broker and go to the Import tab, let's just do that. And we go into the Import tab, and you go to Flexera, and you double-click on it, and it goes out, and it's going to pull back all of the catalog items that are available in Flexera that we can import into Service Broker. You have the flexibility to bring any one of these items into Service Broker. However, not all of these items will end in a successful request. That's part of the restrictions that were put on this particular integration in the user account that we have to be able to have access to Flexera's portal. There are certain items in Flexera's app portal that are categorized as general catalog items. Any one of those items are not associated to any specific type of managed system on the back end. That's why we can create any name we want for the server, and it just acts like it provisions that server. So the app portal doesn't block the request from completing. This is a list of those general catalog items. There are more out there. I have submitted a request to my contacts at Flexera to give me a list of the rest of the general catalog items. John Doe in the admin portal has some ability to look at the catalogs, but he doesn't have the ability to flip through the different pages. You can look at one page and that's it. You try to go any further and it kind of blows up. So if you want to actually import a catalog item, I would suggest you pull one from this list if you wanted to show an end-to-end to a customer or something along those lines. Pull one from this list, add the workflow that I already have in there, or create your own workflow if you would like, publish it, and then you'll be able to make a successful request. So we looked we looked in here and we saw that it might even be closed by now, so it's gone through, it made the request. Let's go, oops, I'm sorry, wrong one. Let's go out to the portal itself. So this is all documented and out on Chatter. I give you the URL, the username, and the password. Right? You can log in, and you're logged in as John Doe. If you need to quote unquote prove that that request went through, go to the portal, go to My Requests, select it. I may have been sitting here for a while, so it's going to ask me to probably log back in. And just a tip, if you use a Mac, I know this isn't really speedy right here, and I'm on Chrome. If you use Safari, it's even slower. So I suggest not using Safari. So here's the request that was made. It has gone through. You can see there's the machine that I created. This is the extent that we have to prove to a customer for demoing this product that yes, this request did make it to the Flexera portal. Right? We're working with the folks at Flexera to figure out a way that would enable us to provision these requests maybe out to our mobile devices or something along those lines. I don't know if we will be able. I don't know if technically if they can do that. We've just started talking with them to try to figure out if that's a way we can go, so we can actually maybe provision, Google Earth or something to your phone or a tablet or something like that, so you can see the actual end result. But for now, this is what we have, right? We can go out to the portal and say, look, the request has gone through. It's in Flexera's hands. Whatever Flexera has defined for their workflow, how they're going to handle these specific requests, it belongs to the app portal now. Any questions there? Nothing? Okay, we looked at Service Broker, and you saw the connectors that are out there, all the ones that are configured. Let me do this. So all of the ones that are connected are obviously in the environment, and they're configured, and there is some communication that takes place. There's a Jira connector out there as well. If you go back into MyIT, it's not part of a catalog group that shows up here. You can easily change that yourself in MyIT. But if you do a search on Jira, you'll see that it comes up. You can actually make that request. We do have a Jira instance out there. You just type in a description of what you got, and you can hit I'm done, and it'll go off there. I've had a few SCs that have requested this for customers that do have Jira and would like to track bugs this way. So that is in the product, and we created a short workflow that allows you to do that. I'm not sure if I've put this Jira component in the release notes yet, or and I don't think I put it on Chatter, but I will. If it's not, I'll go out and double check. So I will give you the URL to allow you to get to this page, as well as the credentials to log in, the admin credentials. But once you fire this up, just go to the projects dropdown, select SB BDC. That's the project name that we've created, and that's where all of this information is going to go. So you can see that information is out there. It actually made it into Jira. All right, so that is a working request as well. So I just exposed several accounts and the usernames and credentials for the administrator of those different portals and different accounts that we have. You guys have access to that. I would ask that you use those accounts to fulfill the necessary requirements for a demo. Basically show the customer, yeah, look, this happened, right? Please don't go into those. Please don't use those accounts to change any of the account or profile information that's in there. Some of that stuff's kind of sensitive, and you make a change, and then all of a sudden we're not getting the notifications that we need from the provider and things of that nature. So although you are logging in as an admin, please don't add a bunch of resource groups or new projects or things of that nature, because oftentimes a lot of those will have costs associated with them as well. Okay, but in order to be able to show what's being done on the back end, you need that access, so you have it. These banners are live up here. You can click on these hero banners, and it'll either punch us out to an external URL like this one has, or it will open up the service request just like the individual item would that's listed into each of the categories. All right, so that's the look from the different enhanced items that are being published out by Service Broker. Any questions there before I move on? I'm going to show you some stuff in the MyIT admin real quick before we go any further. Anything, Tom?
No, sir.
No, sir. Okay, I've got a bunch of stuff open here. All right, let's jump over to the admin catalog real quick. We did the Service Broker integration. Also, what you're going to see on here is the rebranding tool. So they've added the rebranding capability here. I'm not going to go into that. If you guys go out to iLearn, if you haven't already, if you didn't sit in on the IUR, the 3.3 IUR that Tom hosted with Simon Geddes and Larry Tube, I would recommend you go out and watch it, because it goes over and highlights and demos all of the new capabilities for MyIT and Service Broker that have come out in 3.3. So they do talk about the branding tool. In addition to that, Wade Newborn is working on a video that focuses specifically on the branding tool, and he'll have that posted, and we'll make an announcement on Chatter. He'll give it to Tom, and Tom will get it out on the DSM page so that it's available. The branding tool is there. And then one of the other things that is actually pretty cool, if you haven't seen it, is this reports. If you go under more and select reports, you're going to get a report of all of the active users who have been going in and out of MyIT, right? It's tracking the number of unique users and the medium they use to access MyIT, whether it's through the Universal Console or their mobile device. So it takes a track. It tells you when they logged in and what device. So this is something that's been asked for quite a bit. This is the extent of the report. We will be enhancing this report as we go forward. But right now, this addresses the initial requests that we were getting from customers on trying to track and understand who's actually using the product and who isn't. All right, so this report is now available through the admin console. Okay? All right.
Roger,
yes.
Is there an analytics for this? Some kind?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Not at the moment. Something that we'd have to reach out to Larry. This may have been asked when we did the IUR in 3.3. I don't remember. It's something that has been thought about, absolutely. Right, and I know we're addressing analytics. I just don't have the details on it at the moment. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
All right, so let's go back. Let's jump to Service Broker. I'm not going to walk you guys through all of the new stuff that's in here. Hopefully you're familiar enough with Service Broker. But some of the new capabilities over the Services tab, you've got your banners. And then there's also a new item in here called Requests that you can actually go in here and look at requests. This really comes in handy if you have some that have failed. You can actually double click and open them up and see some different details about them. All right. So we've got the connectors that are there. I talked about the import specifically with Flexera. Try to remember that. If you fire up your instance and you do not configure the Office 365 connector, you will be in failed state on the import tab as well with Office 365. Okay. Entitlements. You now have the ability to delete these virtual marketplaces. I have set up a few entitlements. Certainly not they're not too detailed. Most of the entitlements I've kind of kept towards the Flexera stuff to make sure that those are only available to either the admin of the system or John or Jane Doe when they log in. I did kind of mess up with the banner. If you look here, the Microsoft Visio, that is a Flexera request. So if you're logged in as Mary or Joe or somebody else, you're still going to see this, but you won't be able to make the request. So keep that in mind. And that's because I forgot. I added the entitlement. I added the banner to the user groups where I've given everybody access to. So the banner's available there. And again, you guys can go in here and you can obviously add and customize and do whatever you need to do to the environment. Workflows. Gone in and put in a basic set of workflows. This certainly isn't the extent where we want to be with the workflows. So with the next release of the environment we have coming out in, I think towards the end of February, we will enhance the workflows that are available. Hope we get some incidents and some change workflows in here. I know Mike Perot has done a lot of work with 3.2 with some of his customers, and he has some good work I think that he wants to get in here as well in there. So, and then anybody else, as you guys work with this, if you come up with information or you create some workflows or some services or requests you think that others would benefit from, let me know, and I can either extract that information or duplicate it into the next environment. And then the workflows are different this year with this version. You can see over here that we now have these drop down box for these input parameters. So you still need to know what you want to have in here. We just don't have to worry about. You don't have to memorize the syntax and figure out what it is that you need to put in here. We've got all of this information that's available that we can just click and add to it, and we're good to go. So it makes it a little bit easier. Documentation, I think, is in the state of being updated right now to reflect all of this. So we will be adding to the workflows that are available. And I don't know if I meant to tell you at the very beginning. I don't know if I did. MyIT, we did an upgrade of MyIT from 3.2 to 3.3. Service Broker from 3.2 to 3.3, there was not an upgrade path provided because of the infrastructure change that happened. So we took advantage of that in this instance to start fresh. All right, so everything that you see in Service Broker we built from scratch with this build, with this release. So a lot of the stuff that you may have seen in the 3.2 environment, you are not going to see in here. We took advantage of the opportunity to clean stuff up and streamline some stuff. So if there's something missing in here that you used all of the time that's in 3.2, let me know, and I'll do what I can to get it back in and get it updated. Did a lot of requesting and capturing, tried to get the report content, some content in here for reports for you guys, and you should be aware of that. So it's not empty. There is some trending costing and some SLA content that is in here. Okay. Any questions on this before I give you some insight on a couple of issues that were found within an hour or two of the release that slipped by? Nope. Okay.
I don't have a question on this, but I have a question which is related to the connector configuration. So
yes.
Do you want to take it now or?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
Yeah. So I wanted to know how complex it is to change the configuration of the connectors to point to a different environment. Like if I have to use, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
what are the
not at all.
information do I need from the customer if I'm going for a POC?
Yeah.
With the customer's environment, what are the information that we need? Can we just change the connector configuration and just use the same workflow?
Yes.
And the provisioning have? Okay.
So yes. So depending on the connector is going to drive the information that you need from the customer. Right. So I've opened up the Office 365 connector, and the information that we need is client ID, client secret, authentication code, tenant, all of this stuff. that information has to come from, or it will come from the account, the Office 365 admin account that the customer owns, right? So you need to get a hold or have somebody at the client site get a hold of whoever the admin is for any particular portal and request that information. And then you can simply just replace that information in here.
So the access to the BMC portal that we have for Office, we have the admin privileges. If we go into that account, if we log into it, is there a place that we see that information? This is for guiding the customer where to find this information.
So you had to ask me that one, didn't you? It's not as easy as it's not as easy as you would think. I'm not an Office 365 guru. Myself and Simon have done it a couple of, I don't even know if Simon made the call. Maybe he did. You can find it through that admin account. I didn't commit it to memory. It wasn't easy. It wasn't intuitive to get that. I would expect that an admin of one of these portals or one of these accounts who uses it on a daily basis would be more familiar on how to with how to do it. But all of that information is available to the admin. I couldn't open that portal right now and walk you through it. I don't remember. There were a couple of different places we had to go to harvest that information.
Okay, just one last question, and that applies to all the connectors that we have: Office 365, Azure, AWS, Jira, Flexera, everything. Okay, all right.
Yeah. That applies to everything, right? I mean, if you go in,
the plug and play part, wherein I would just change the configuration and it starts working. Okay.
Yeah. So if for instance, if you were to say, hey guys, can we have this this service broker Docker image, and can we take it to a customer site, plug it in, and we say yes, and you go there, you take it, and you plug it in. This is going to be in there. Yeah, you could simply just change this over to whatever meets the customer's environment, and you're good to go. Yeah, and that's the same with all of them. And then one thing while we're here, you'll see this HRCM5 connector with this missing. That is left over from a development cycle. It did not get taken out in time. It didn't get taken out before we installed it and started building this environment, and then once it was taken out, we couldn't update the console to remove this, so it shows up as missing. In case anybody asks, that was a development test connector that was in there that has been removed, but it was removed after we had already identified it as being there, if that makes any sense. Okay? Anything else?
No, Rajat. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, the last thing I want you guys to be aware of, I don't know how many of you export these requests. If you do that, the idea is that the catalog profile, the workflow, the questions, everything associated with that request gets exported and put into a zip file that you can then grab and take over to another service broker environment, right? And then you can import from file, and you can import from that file. I use it for some of the homegrown requests that we've made between service broker instances, and it works fairly well. It kind of clutters up the workflows because it puts these really long date and timestamps on the end of it, but they're there. And it does its job. In this environment, I don't know what's wrong. We didn't find it till the very end. If you try to export one of these services, it fails in doing so. What it does is it goes out and it creates an unknown file. So that is going to be addressed, and we'll get that fixed for the next release. Secondly, I don't know if I forgot who I was working with. I think it was Dave Schmidt. I don't know if he's on the line. He pinged me yesterday, and he found out that if you are using Internet Explorer to open up the UI, the UC, these hero banners, though they do appear and you can scroll through them, if you click on them to try to make a request, it will not work. Don't know why. It works with all of the, Chrome, Firefox, Safari. It works fine with all of those. I have a Mac, so most of the stuff I do is not with IE. I didn't come across that particular issue. I did send it off to engineering. They did validate that they saw the same issue in an environment I spun up for them to look at. What I don't know is it the BDC environment? Is it the demo environment issue? Is it a configuration issue within the demo that we've done, or is it actually a bug in the product? I haven't got an answer back on that, but you guys need to be aware of that, right? So if you're using IE to go in and do your demonstration, don't try to request one of these catalog items from the hero banner. It doesn't work. The feature banners work. You can go and you can click on these. And by the way, each one of these will take you to a video that's out on YouTube that has been created specifically for, well, you can see the content here. Okay. I think I've covered everything. Any questions? And again, the intent of this session wasn't to show you how to demo or teach you how to demo or whatever. I just wanted to introduce you to what was in the environment and kind of why we did what we did, and show you where we're at, and then any of the gotchas and potholes and things like that that you need to be aware of. So I think I covered all of those. If you guys run across something, obviously shoot me an email or pick up the phone and give me a call or hit me on IM or whatever you need. And we'll see what we can do to address whatever that is. So, any last questions, Tom? Or anybody that might be unmuted?
Hey, Roger, I just want.
Go ahead, June.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make 2 comments. One, the HRCM provider is disabled in this particular release where it was enabled in previous releases. So if you're going to do a HR case demo, you'll have to go in and check that provider. But keep in mind, when you check the HRCM provider, it's going to break Smart IT. There's a bug that's been created. So if you select the HRCM provider and you try to go to the ticket console or you try to create a knowledge article, it's going to freeze. So just wanted to bring that up. And the second comment is, with this MyIT 3.3 release, it also comes with Smart IT 1501. Although it's a .01 release, there's a lot of integrations. Integrations with BCM, integrations with BSA and AO, integrations with Microsoft Data Compliance Management. Covering that in the next 3 minutes is probably not possible, but we're creating videos, and they'll be posted in the release notes.
Yeah, thanks, June. I did want to bring up that point that you guys would be creating videos that highlight the changes and enhancements that you've made on the remedy side of the house. But since you decided to, hijack my meeting for your own purposes, that's fine too.
Hey, so Hal, hopefully that answered your question. Wilkie had another question. He's Chad. He can't talk
okay.
here. He says he's for the Azure requests, any way to make selecting the templates more human readable?
Yes, there is. In Service Broker, let me find that guy. Template. Let me sort these guys. Azure. If you go in workflow and questions, they'll show up here. You can simply do an edit. And you can go into any one of these, and you can change these labels if you like. So you can just go in and you can do an edit, and you can change the label here. So if that's what you're talking about, yes, absolutely, you can do that.
Okay. I'll let him confirm that or deny. Confirm or deny. Not labels is what he's saying. Then maybe this is something that we take offline. Maybe list of VM templates. Maybe okay.
That's fine. A list of
Okay.
VM templates. Yeah, so we are driven by the content that we have in our questions is driven by the tasks and activities we're given by the connector itself. What are we doing, Azure? So with Azure, we have three activities that we can go off and do, that we have access to. So there's no out of the box templates, if you will, associated to an Azure instance, if you will, but you can drive the content of information that you'd want from that instance by adding variables to the workflow, like you see that is done here. These variables correlate directly to those questions that you saw. This is actually where you start to define the questions and the required information that you need. And then when you get into the actual task itself, whether it's Azure or AWS or anything else, then you start associating these different types of expressions and activities with the variable that you created, if that makes any sense. I might just be confusing you more here.
He said sure.
That being said, that this whole workflow designer and stuff, it's based on the Innovation Suite. It really needs a training session on its own. I know IDD is doing their best to update the documentation and make it as easy as possible, but you could hold a training session on each connector and each of the tasks that it provides within the context of a workflow. You really can. So,
okay. So maybe that's
hopefully that pointed you in the right direction.
Yep. Okay, and then the last question I think we had was from Luis, and I think you might have just answered it though. Was where do you go? Do the questions come from AWS, or do you have to configure it? And I think you answered that already. Yes,
those questions come from variables that you create and then assign to the expressions that are being looked for from the connector. Let me go back. Let me do new workflow. All right. So if we were doing Azure and we drug this content over, the first thing you want to do in the workspace is add the variables, and these are going to correlate to the questions. I'll give you a tip here. The first variable that you want to do, no matter what, is do one called context, right? Input required, and do service broker. You're going to want to do that first every time. The reason is because it gives you access to different types of information that are provided from within Service Broker itself, right? So you do that context, right? And then you can continue to add variables. So if I go here to create storage, there is a list of required information that it's supplied by the connector. It comes in the connector. You can't get away from it. This particular task requires this information in order to be successful. Okay, and you need to go in there and you need to build that. You need to build that expression. So the connection ID, for instance, is pretty self-explanatory. It's connection ID, right? You hit OK, you move on, right? So user by, we'll go in there and we'll build that expression. Oh, I did the wrong one. No wonder that didn't look right. User by, we can go in and do that. You can flip through, next here, and it'll walk you through it. But it's going to look for information, right? Who is making that request? Who are you requesting it for? What is the service that this is associated to, and things of that nature. That information is derived from this context from within Service Broker. That's why you need to go in, and that's the first thing you need to do when you're creating a workflow. Go in and create this Service Broker context. This gives you the drag and drop capability of all of these different variables that you can add to these expressions, right? But what is needed by any task, and they're all going to be different depending on the connector that you're using and the task that you drag in, right? They're all going to be a little bit different. You can see that this one's quite different. When you go off and create the VM, it needs specific information. You can see the resource group, which we were asked as a question. So I take these and I convert them into questions out here in the area where I add and remove my variables. So this may be the area, I think, from that first question where you put it into more human readable context. If you wanted to do that, maybe you start at the workflow here. So hopefully I didn't confuse you anymore and that made a little bit of sense. Anything else, Tom?
That's it. And I think, Wilkie, we'll take up your AO question offline because we've gone past the hour now. So I think, like you said, we might want to do something for each connector and go a little bit deeper in each one. So we can take that offline, but for this, we just want to give you the high-level overview. So I think that's good, Roger. Thank you for doing this. This is, I think it was very beneficial.
All right. I appreciate everybody taking the time, and sorry I went a few minutes over, but
we all know
hopefully
you like to talk.
it was useful. Well, I do.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Okay, guys.
And thanks to you, Roger.